Welcome to Another Triathlon Podcast, the podcast that brings the electrifying world of triathlons right into your headphones. Journey into captivating conversations, share the excitement of race recaps, enjoy the humor only a triathlete would understand, and join us as we debunk myths and bring you the bare, thrilling truths of the triathlon world. So feel your heart pound, breathe in anticipation, and get ready to dive into the world of triathlon. This is Another Triathlon Podcast. Enjoy the ride.
Welcome back to Another Triathlon Podcast. Today we have a guest whose journey is, well, as dynamic as the sport we love. You may know him from his antics and charismatic presence on Big Brother, but today he joins us as a fellow triathlete, having tested his limits in multiple Ironman events. Starting with Ironman Tulsa in 21, he made an impressive 2-hour improvement in Ironman Cozumel and tackled the challenges of Ironman Barcelona. Off the race course, he's been open about his struggles with mental health, using his platform to discuss his experiences and help others through life coaching. So this reality star turned endurance athlete who proved that the triathlon bug can bite just about anyone, anywhere. Let's give a warm welcome to the multi-talented and always entertaining Zach Rance. It's a pleasure to have you with us here today.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Happy to be here. That was a great introduction, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. You have definitely a different story than most of the people in triathlon, so it's kind of fun to learn a little bit more about that journey and how you got to where you are and what led you to triathlon. But let's take it all the way back, probably the jumping off point where most people recognize your name from. I'm sure you're tired of talking about it at this point, but can you take us back a little bit to your time on Big Brother and kind of what that experience meant or did for you at that time?
Absolutely. So it was back in 2014. I was 23 years old at the time, just freshly graduated from the University of Florida. I graduated with a degree in finance and economics, and I didn't know what I was going to do after that. Serendipitously enough, Big Brother not reached out, but they did a casting call in Gainesville. There was one of 26 cities that they came to. I showed up. I ended up getting cast on the TV show. I knew nothing about the show. And for all the triathletes out there that don't know what Big Brother is, it's a game show for 16 strangers, 8 girls, 8 guys competing for $500,000. We do endurance challenges, we do mental challenges, we do memory challenges, and every single week the house votes out someone, and at the end of it, whoever ends up being the last man standing gets $500,000. And I did not win, but it was an amazing experience, and the timing was really great. I had an amazing time. It was a great opportunity, and all in all, I look back and it was just happy memories. But that was 9 years ago at this point. And, after the show, you come off of these reality shows with a little bit of fame, a couple 100,000 Instagram followers, articles being written about me, meet and greets, club appearances, people wanting to do sponsorship deals with me and things like that. And I said yes to all those opportunities. But a lot of that attention, most of it, went right to my head. And I became an egotistical, narcissistic, pretentious douchebag. I was a jerk.
Fair enough.
And I was very young at the time, and I got handed a $30,000 check in 2014 at 23 years old, and I thought it was a lot of money. And my mental health was severely impacted because of my big ego that was the result of all this attention. And started abusing a lot of alcohol. I started spending all my money on expensive bottles and expensive clothes and things I didn't even really like to impress people I didn't even know. And 6 months of that ended up resulting in a lot of depression and just, I didn't have a lot of clarity on what I wanted to do with my life. And then in 2016, I got into real estate. A friend of mine, actually someone who was on Big Brother, had a real estate company, and she asked me if I wanted to be a sales associate. Got paid $40,000 a year to show houses. I didn't get any commissions or anything like that, but I learned a lot. And by having a 60-hour per week commitment, like an actual job, I was forced to wake up early. I was forced to sharpen my time management skills. I was forced to learn more about personal growth and sales and leadership and networking and a lot of these things that, we're all trying to do on a daily basis. So from there, I've just been super passionate and obsessed with personal growth and self-development. And my physical health is something that's really important to me, obviously, because it kind of all starts there. And it wasn't until 2020 that I was introduced to Ironman for the first time. And I can, we can go into the story about how that happened, but Big Brother it was meant to happen. I believe everything happens for a reason. And even though there was a lot of good, there was a lot of bad that came from it as well. But, it's all part of our journeys.
Yeah, absolutely. And that had to be quite the challenge, just thrust from obscurity in school to right on the center stage with hundreds of thousands of people watching you, reaching out in this social media day and age. I can't imagine some of the messages or things that you got. That must have been quite the transition to come down from that fame and celebrity to, obviously that starts to peter out a little bit as the years go on from that Ironman appearance. That had to be quite the struggle just to kind of find that sense of balance, find that sense of yourself again, and go from that to a 9-to-5 job, or it sounds like even more than that. That was quite the challenging journey, I'm guessing.
Absolutely. It was very challenging, but life isn't easy. Great things aren't easy. If we want to feel good, if we want to be happy, if we want money, if we want success, if we want to complete a 140-mile race, it's going to suck at some point. So going into it, I wish I knew that my mindset of acknowledging and understanding and expecting tough things, I wish I had that mindset earlier, but now, as the hard things that we chase end up being the greatest things that end up making us feel the best. So
Absolutely.
It was a big learning lesson. And again, humility is something I really try to embody, a beginner's mindset, right? When it comes to Ironman, even though I've completed 2 Ironman, I have a coach that I work with, right? I'm always watching YouTube videos on perfecting my swim technique. So it's like operating from a beginner's mindset in everything I do, whether it's meditation or personal finance or real estate or travel or Ironman or being a life coach. It's like constantly trying to learn and grow.
That is such a great perspective, and one that I don't think enough people take, because if you're not open, if you're not willing to be a little bit vulnerable, say, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know, I'm not the expert in this, then you're never going to learn anything. And that's kind of the beauty of Ironman, is that there's always something new to learn. And the reason we do Ironman is because day-to-day life is physically too comfortable. You need that challenge. You need something that takes you out of that comfort zone. And that's where that growth happens. And it is painful at times. Absolutely. But that is some of the best parts of it. But we will jump into, let's hear the story. How do you go from being a reality TV star to start deciding to do an Ironman? Where did that idea first come up?
So I started my life coaching business in 2020, right when the pandemic hit. I was stuck at home in March of 2020, and I was like, how can I make money from my computer? Mix that with me being glued to the TV and watching the news every single day, like most of us. Yeah. And it was really impacting my mental health. And I was watching too much news, and it was kind of scary. And I was realizing that I'm giving too much of my attention to the media and to, just news. At the end of the day, news is just entertainment, right? It's not news anymore. If it was real news, we wouldn't have to hear it from the TV. Our phone would be blowing up because the world's ending, right? It's really just entertainment at the end of the day. So I went on Instagram and I said, what's up, everybody? I'm like holding the phone like a selfie. What's up, everybody? My mental health has been severely impacted in a negative way. If you feel the same way because of COVID, schedule a call, click the link in my bio, et cetera, et cetera. I did about 40 calls over the next 10 days or so. And I was kind of walking people through how to cope with a lot of the anxiety and depression that was happening from COVID. And, since 2016-ish, and I've been on my own personal growth journey. So even though I'm not a therapist, I'm not a physician at this point, I wasn't a certified life coach, but I was doing a lot of inner work behind the scenes over the last 5 years. And so people were coming to me that, I'm scared, or I don't know what to do, this, and this. And I would say, hey, just go outside, tie your shoes, go for a 20-minute walk. Or I'd say, hey, try meditating for 20 minutes, pick up a book, walk away from the TV, and just read for an hour. And these conversations were very helpful to other people, but they were also extremely helpful to me, because I can't tell someone else to exercise and meditate if I'm not doing it. And the best way to learn is to teach. So as I'm helping people through their mental health struggles and challenges, it's helping me with my mental health struggles and challenges, right? So it added that extra layer of accountability. And the more conversation I was having about this personal growth, self-development, mental health, meditation, et cetera, it was giving me more identity that, hey, this is who I am. This is what I'm about. This is what I'm passionate. And I'm passionate about. So started as a coach is 2020. I had a client, I'm getting to the Ironman. I had a client who said, Zach, my goal is to run an 8-minute mile. I said, dude. And he was in shape. He wasn't obese or anything. Dude, you can run an 8-minute mile right now. What do you mean that's your goal? He's like, no, I can't. I said, listen, dude, if there was $1 million in cash in a briefcase waiting for you at the finish line, if you just ran an 8-minute mile, do you think you'd be able to do it? He goes, probably. I said, all right, tie your shoes. And he lived in, where did he live at the time? He travels a lot. But anyway, we're over the phone. I said, tie your shoes. I'm going to tie mine. Stretch out. I'm going to stretch out. I'm going to call you back in 10 minutes. And we're going to run this mile together. And he said, okay. And in my head, I'm like, I wonder how fast I can do a mile. I'm like, I'm going to try to break 6 minutes, right? So we run this mile. I end up running like a 6:05. He ends up running an 8:02. He's like, oh my God, Zach, I was so close. Like, thank you so much. That was so helpful. Just thinking about it being $4 million and having the accountability and having someone that wants me to do this type of thing. I was like, yeah, that's awesome. And as I'm driving, like I'm literally getting chills thinking about it. I'm driving home and I'm like, I need to sign up for a race. And I still at this point did not know what Ironman was. Yeah. So I go on my computer at home. I type in longest race ever or hardest race ever, some keywords like that. And Ironman pops up. Of course. And I go to YouTube. This was August of 2020. I go to YouTube and I watch a video of Nick Bare training for Ironman Florida, November 2020, I think it was. And I was like, yo, this is freaking cool. I was like 140 miles, 112 miles on a bike, running a marathon, 2.4 miles. I was like, there's no way I could do this, but I'm going to give it a shot. And I kid you not, from the moment I got home and went on my computer to signing up for an Ironman, it was less than 45 minutes because I went on Ironman.com right after I watched this video of like 10 minutes of this video, looked at the races, picked May Tulsa because it was like 7 months away. Mm-hmm. And I paid the $800 and I signed up. And then I went on Instagram. I typed in Ironman coach, got on the call with an Ironman coach the next day, hired him, bought a TacX Flux S2 trainer. I already had a triathlon bike because my grandpa has a few bikes, and the rest was history.
Oh, I love it. And it's so funny. That is, triathlon definitely attracts a certain type of person in there, especially when you're looking at Ironman, looking at the long distance. It's so funny. It takes me back to when I first heard what Ironman was. I had just done my first half marathon. I started running 10 weeks earlier and decided half marathon's a great thing to jump into. Never run a mile before that kind of thing. And someone pointed out the Ironman tattoo, and they're like, oh, that guy's done an Ironman. I'm like, what's that? Told me what it was. I'm like, why would anyone ever want to do that? 4 months later, I signed up for an Ironman, and I'm like, oh my God, I have to do this. It's something that is so big and scary and crazy that you have to do it. Like, if you have any inkling towards that kind of jumping all in, challenging yourself, doing something that kind of scares you, it is the perfect adventure for it. So I'm glad to hear that you just, you didn't hesitate. You went all in, got it done, and went after it. And it sounds like you really put in place a lot of the tools to help you reach that goal too, getting a coach, getting the proper equipment, and actually planning for it. Because as a coach myself, it's happened a number of times where I'll have an athlete come to me 3 months out from an Ironman and say, yeah, I need to start training for this. I don't have anything. And you're like, no, no, that's not how this works. So I'm glad to hear that you took the time to really make sure you had the resources and the help and the equipment to help you on that journey. Because if you have a good experience or a bad one, can drastically, like good training or bad training, drastically changes how that experience is for you. And you know what? When you put in the work and cross that finish line and here you are an Ironman for the first time, it's all worth it. It's
worth it. No, I literally I'm like tearing up, like thinking about the emotions I get when I talk about Ironman. It's so weird. It's like I couldn't wait for this podcast today because nothing gets me more fired up than talking about Ironman. And like I'm going to be doing these things for the rest of my life. Like at least every single year for the rest of my life. My goal, I don't think I've ever said it on record. My goal is to be the oldest Ironman ever. Right?
Really?
That's the goal, to be the oldest Ironman ever. So 120 years old, at Kona, running a sub 13 hour Ironman is the goal here. So, perfect. I'm so obsessed with Ironman. I really am.
Oh, you just get sucked in. It is such an incredible sport and community. And there's always more to do. There's always something you can get better at, always something to work on. So you cross that finish, like, oh, I could have done this a little bit more. but
Right.
let's jump into, how did that first Ironman go for you?
Okay. So first Ironman, I worked with a coach. My goal for Ironman is to enjoy training and finish strong. But the most important goal is having fun while I do it. I am not trying. I'm age group 30 to 34. There's no way I'm going to qualify for Kona. No way in heck I can do that. So, I'm just trying to stay in good shape, feel good, and have fun. I overtrained. I really did. I overtrained and I got to the finish line. Actually, I got into my first bike crash on my last ride before race day. It was like 10 days. I was tapering, obviously, and it was like a short hour and a half ride. And I crashed, and I, strawberries all down my side. My wrist was, and I wasn't in terrible shape. But long story short, I tried to wear a brace on my wrist, and during the swim, I just took it off. And anyway, the race swim was tough. The bike, there was a lot of potholes. I finished the bike, I think, in like 7 hours, maybe a little more than 7 hours. And then the run, mile 12, I get to mile 8 and I was like, I'm going to finish. And then mile 13, 14, my psoa, like groin muscle type of area was just killing me. And I limped the last 10 miles, 8 miles. I think I finished at like 11:40 p.m. that night. It was a long day. 16 hours and 18 minutes, I think was my time. But oh my God, you look at the picture of me afterwards. I'm like, biggest smile. I'm like crying, biggest smile on my face ever. Like, it was honestly one of the best days of my life. It was tough, but you see like overweight, and no offense to people that are overweight, and so much respect to people that are overweight and doing this, but like you see like extremely overweight people accomplishing this. You see 80-year-old frail women accomplishing this, like literally flying past me on the bike. So, and it just gives you this feeling that anyone can do this. Anyone can do this. And obviously, like you said, the community and the atmosphere and the volunteers. And
it's unreal.
And there was no way I wasn't finishing. There was no way I was going to let that happen. Willing to die in Tulsa. Willing to die in Tulsa.
I love it. And I love that mentality too. You know what? It can be a humbling experience. We got one person who's inspired a ton of people is Sister Madonna Booter, who's like in her 80s doing Ironmans and going to the world championships every year. It's like, okay, if she can do this, why can't I? And it's so cool to see those different body types, those different like older people in there just accomplishing this. And it really shows, if you put your mind to something like this, if you put in the time, put in the training, the possibilities are endless, and absolutely anyone can do this sport. So it's a fun challenge. But when it came to your next Ironman there, I saw you took like 2 hours off your time. What changed between those two Ironmans? What was the difference in there?
So my second time, Ironman Cozumel 2021, I did not work with a coach. I really did not train that much. And I focused more on yoga, mobility. Yeah, I did a couple runs. I didn't do a ride over 3 hours. I didn't do a run over 12 miles, but I was just feeling good. And I was enjoying it more the second time than I was the first time, taking it seriously. And taking it seriously the first time. Second time, didn't really take it so seriously. Now, how I shaved off 2 hours, I'm going to give all the credit to the conditions that day. Even though there's videos on YouTube, to all those people out there that want to know how crazy the conditions were, go on YouTube and type in Ironman Cozumel 2021. The bike, I kid you not, there was so much water on the bike that when at a certain point, the water was like over your shoes, over your pedals. And we're like, you had to really slow down to get to this water. But the swim was a strong tailwind. I think Kristen Blumfelt, I think his name is Christian Blumfelt.
Yeah.
He did like a 38-minute swim because the current was just so strong in our favor. I ended up getting out of the water in 55 minutes, which was I was like, I got out the water, felt great, got on the bike. I think I did like a 7-hour ride. The bike wasn't as easy because of the rain and stuff, but Cozumel is known, correct me if I'm wrong, Cozumel is known as like a lot of wind, because you're going around the island. So at one part of the island, there's strong headwind. And then also it's extremely hot and humid. Now, I'm a Florida boy. right? And I ride my bike on my trainer in my garage in 90-degree weather with like crazy humidity. So I'm definitely prepped for the heat. And then the run, I mean, the run, I had a lot more to give, and I ended up running like a 5.5 hour marathon, which is very slow for me because I've run sub 4 hour multiple times. But the atmosphere in Cozumel is like there. Oh my God, the whole streets are lined, everyone's shaking maracas or whatever they're called, and it's just they were giving out pizza. I didn't realize that you can't take food from people. Oh my gosh, someone gave me a piece of pizza, and I the piece of pizza, and someone goes, "Don't do that," and I was like, "Why?" He's like, "You can get DQ'd." I threw the piece of pizza, and they were trying to hand me beer and things like that. But Cosmo, yeah, I did. I think 14:06. So I don't know what it was. Maybe I was enjoying it more.
Yeah, and you know what? There is a big difference if you're like overtrained and tired going in and just not in the right headspace to push. So I've done a few Ironmans here where it really makes a massive difference if your head is fresh, if your body is fresh when you're going to the race and you're enjoying it. Like if you can smile through the pain and the discomfort because you're just so hungry and ready to be there because you're feeling good and fired up, that is such a massive difference than going into something just tired and exhausted. And you almost start on that start line thinking, I just want this to be over with. Like I don't even want to do this at that point. So if you go in feeling fresh mentally specifically, you kind of relax into the discomfort a lot more and everything just moves a little bit easier. You're not fighting against yourself. You're just going with the flow. And if you reach that flow state, regardless of speed, things just fly by a lot faster.
Yeah, it's true. Just like being present. Being present is so important. And you're right. It's like, and I want to hear more about your journey as well. Because I don't want to make this complete, even though you're interviewing me and it is about me, I definitely want to hear about your Ironman experience as well. But I can definitely see how that's the case. Just like going into it relaxed, fresh mind, fresh body, fresh legs.
Cozumel is beautiful. I just did a training camp for the first time earlier this year, and I fell in love with that place. I have to do that race now.
Oh my God, love it. I'm doing it again this year. So
good.
Yeah,
Good.
doing it again in November.
That is awesome. Well, you also had another Ironman experience in there that didn't quite go to plan. Did you want to talk about Barcelona at all?
Of course. I knew we were going to get to this tough day. Oh my gosh. I got so screwed for a few reasons.
So what happened out there? Where did it go wrong?
Yeah. First of all, I've only done 3, but for the first 2 times I rented a bike. Now, I rented a bike and it went well. The first time I rented from a credible company, it was $400. They gave me a Cervelo, P whatever, they fit it to my liking. It had the CO2 can, everything I needed, right? Which took a lot of stress off me because if there's one part of Ironman that I'm extremely bad at, it is fixing a bike, changing a tire. I can't use a screwdriver. I'm not good with my hands building things, and fixing a bike is the one thing I'm worse at. But it's part of the sport. It's part of the sport. Like so, I've changing tires a few times, but if it were to happen in the race, I would just pray that there's support. Honestly, and I don't even want to put that out there into the universe. But so this time around, I was like, I'm going to bring my bike. I'm going to bring my bike this time. And I bought a $700 Scion triathlon bag, and I started taking my bike apart. And as soon as I started taking my bike apart to put it in this, and I'm like reading the directions, I'm like, this is not going to end well. But I did it. I brought my bike there. As soon as I got there, I didn't know how to put my bike together. I was extremely stressed out. It was like there was a lot of stress in the travel. Going to Barcelona, I mean, it's far and and I don't want to make excuses or anything, but it was just, there was a lot of moving parts. There was a lot of logistics that weren't present when I just quickly flew an hour to Cozumel or, flew to Tulsa. Barcelona was kind of bigger production, and mainly because I decided to bring my bike, which I now regret. But then on the race, there was, I don't want to say 4-foot swells. That's what I tell other people, but there was high seas, man. I got dizzy. I've never felt that in my life. I was like, 30 minutes into the swim and I'm like super dizzy, and I had to stop for a second. So I get out the water in like an hour 30, and then the bike, which was, I cried so much. My bike broke mile 10. Like my derailleur on my back tire wasn't shifting, and I'm hitting the shifter, and it wasn't shifting. Thank God I was in. I know nothing about bikes, like the hardest gear. So like
Mhm.
the fastest gear, I guess. So thank God I was in that gear, but I was stuck in that gear for 100 miles. And there's one part in the Barcelona track where you go up this big hill, and I get
Mhm.
to the hill, and I was like, if I push this on this hill right now, I'm not going to recover from this. So I literally get off of my bike
Yeah.
and I walk my bike up this hill. And I was like, this is not going as planned. This is not looking good. I kept stopping for like the support people that had tools, and they were in a great spot. They were right there, and I passed them 3 times, and every single time I get up, can you fix? And they don't speak English. I don't think I have to tell them. It's like you kind of know what's wrong with the bike without having to tell you. And no offense to them or anything, it's just there was a communication barrier, and they couldn't fix it. And I said, just give me the bike, and I kept going. And then I ended up being the last person out on the course. I'm gonna cry thinking about it. I'm like,
Oh, really?
it came to a point where I was like, oh my God, there's, because you go back and forth in a couple times, and the
Left.
first time I go back, there's like 40 people behind me. And the next time I go back, there's like 3 people behind me. And then 7 hours into it, I realized there is no one behind me. And I was like, this is not going well right now. And then I had so sad because I had like 3 miles left.
Mhm.
It was not far. It was another 20 minutes.
Almost there.
Oh my God. I was so close. It was not far. And I kind of just like stopped for a little bit. My legs were obviously hot, like it was hurting.
Finding that gear would be brutal on the muscles.
And then I get in, and I was like, I get in and I get into T2. I hop off my bike, and I'm going through, and I'm off my bike. And the volunteer, the judge, or whatever you want to call him, goes,
Mhm.
bib number 2868, is he good? And I hear on the walkie-talkie, not good, 806, not good. And I was like, I didn't pay attention. I kept going. She runs over to me, excuse me, you're DQ'd. Can I have your chip? And I go,
Oh,
oh no.
no.
And I felt good. I felt good. I would definitely finish the marathon. And I had time. It was
Yeah.
like 5 o'clock. No, maybe it was like 5:30. I had time to finish the marathon. I would have finished. And they're like, DQ'd, give me your chip. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, you came in at 8:06. You the cutoff 8 hours. Yeah. And I was
That
like,
is brutal.
brutal. So she takes my chip. I said, you know what? I'm going to do it anyway. I don't care about the chip. I'm going to do it anyway. I go to my bag to get my shoes. They took my bag. My
All
bag
day.
was,
Yeah.
yeah. And then
Oh,
broke down.
yeah.
It was awful. It was bad.
That is heartbreaking, especially, Ironman isn't just about race day. It's the months of sacrifice and time and effort and work that goes into it that really make up race day. So that had to be such a hard hit to be pulled off at that point when you could have finished the marathon.
Could have finished the marathon, and I should have just biked faster. I should just biked faster. And everything happens for a reason. And it was humbling for sure. It was like, yo, this is not as easy. Look, if I went from not running at all to doing an Ironman in 7 months, did my first 2 not easily, but I accomplished them. I needed the universe to say, Zach, you got to work harder. You are not just naturally going to be able to run an Ironman. It's going to take dedication. It's going to take consistency. It's going to take discipline, and it's going to take sacrifice. And there's no other way around it. So I'm glad it happened. Respect. I mean, I wish I had the medal, and I wish I had another T-shirt, but
Yeah, I so appreciate your mindset around it though, right? Like it sounds like it's happened a couple times where you do kind of get these hits from the universe, but you take it as a positive. It can be a humbling experience, but there's something to be learned from it. It doesn't, so many people would take that, it would knock them down and be like, hey, no, I'm done. Screw this. Like I'm off, right? But it's very cool to see that you have that mindset where you're like, no, okay. I can learn something from this. It's just going to make me better, stronger, whatever in the future, and have those mental tools from having a situation like that. So I think more people need to take that perspective when they do get knocked down because, that's how you get stronger. That's how you grow.
that's
I
it.
love it.
And also there's so many areas of my life that have also vertically scaled from just doing Ironman. It sharpens your time management skills.
Totally.
It increases your self-discipline. It forces you to be accountable about high quality sleep and good nutrition. And I've never felt this good in my life. I've never looked this good in my life. I've never been so inspired and had so much purpose in my entire life. I owe all of it to Ironman. And
I
It's
hear
the
you
best
there.
thing in the world. It's the best thing in the world. I love it. Love, love, love.
So you've been pretty open about kind of your mental health struggles, not only on this conversation, but outside of this too. How do you feel kind of Ironman has either affected or been a part of those mental health struggles, whether it's helped you or how is that tied into overcoming some of those?
Absolutely. So I believe that mental health is a muscle. And in order to work out that muscle, you got to do a lot of inner work. You got to be aware of your thoughts. You got to put your health first, right? So it's increased my confidence. It's, these training sessions, I hate the bike. And as soon as I get off this, I got a 2,000-yard swim, which isn't that much, but for me, it's kind of a lot. But I have a 2-hour ride on Saturday. That's not easy, sitting in a saddle for 2 hours. And, I can easily stop at an hour 40 or an hour 30 and things like that. But it's like, no, you got to finish what you started. Right. And even though that doesn't have so much to do with mental health, pushing yourself out of your comfort zone and increasing your confidence and showing yourself that you can do it. It will get better. It will get easier.
Mm-hmm.
Is really big. And there's obviously a lot of physiological benefits to physical exercise, right? That influence your mental health directly, whether it's dopamine or serotonin or cortisol, whatever you want to call it. I believe there is a laundry list of direct correlations between physical health and mental health.
Couldn't agree more. And actually that really speaks to me. So a little bit about my background. I was overweight my whole life, never played sports, never did anything active. I was the shy, quiet one in the corner, turned bright red whenever anyone started talking to me, super quiet and shy. And it wasn't until I lost about 50 pounds through weight training initially, and then was looking for a way to keep it off and jumped right into triathlon kind of obsessively like I do with things, and started to see some results in triathlon where it really changed my perspective on life, because once I started seeing what my body was actually capable of, and exercise became about something more than what I looked like, it became about seeing what I was actually capable of. Just the shift in my confidence was something that was absolutely drastic. I found a voice. I started putting myself out there, doing things like acting and modeling because nothing sounded scarier, but I'd kind of built up this confidence. That's something I would have never done before, but seeing how strong physically I could be, it's like, well, what else can I do? What else is out there, right? So that speaks so much to me. Triathlon drastically changed my life, and it's just fun to hear other people's stories that it had a very similar effect, because it is something so big and scary and awesome and wicked.
Right. So actually, I don't know how many more questions you have, but I'd love to hear more about your Ironman experience so far, how many you've done, what are some of your Ironman goals? Actually, I want to ask you this question. Do you mind if I ask you some questions?
Go for it.
Okay, cool. What is your next Ironman on the calendar, and what's your goal for that Ironman?
My next Ironman on the calendar is the Ironman World Championships in Hawaii here. And my goal is to go around 10 hours there. So I'm hoping for a top 5.
So what dedication, sacrifice, and training plan, how many hours do you put in a week to try to accomplish that goal?
So it's changed over the years. I got into triathlon about 10 years ago. Did the same thing I did with the half marathon. Decided to learn how to swim and did a half marathon or half Ironman 10 weeks later, and figured it probably wouldn't die, and didn't, so kept doing it. Jumped all into triathlon and actually got started with a coach very early on after my first triathlon, and started to see some success there. I did my first Ironman just over a year after that first one, and I was lucky enough to have a coach that was very much attuned to writing plans for specifically where I was. I went to him and said, I want to be competitive in an Ironman. He said, let's just see what your body can do and we'll kind of go there. But responded well to the training and ended up coming third in my first Ironman there, just minutes off a Kona spot with a bike mechanical. Just heartbreaking timing. But I found out through this triathlon process, I'm super competitive, which I did not know before because I didn't play sports. But for me, it was really I was training around 15 hours a week in there, and just became entirely obsessed with triathlon, to say the least, in there. But yeah, then ended up taking a year off to have my son, and took a couple years off racing. and didn't know if I was going to be able to really get back to that point. Because when I did that first Ironman, I was working as a personal trainer. My life was built around having the time to train and recover and do all that stuff. But yeah, I got back into it and did the Canadian long distance world championships and podiumed for and qualified for the world championships there, and came back and ended up winning the long distance world championships. So that was kind of like, okay, I can do this still. So
God.
it was, it was really, like I said, it just drastically changed my life. But I was definitely all in on the sport. We'll say that.
Oh my gosh. So what does a typical week look like for you training wise?
So it looks a little different this year. This year is a total experiment. I've started doing more marketing consulting with a bike race, Les Tap by Tour de France. So my training hours are drastically down from where they've been in the past or where I've kind of had those Ironman wins. So right now I'm probably sitting, it really swings drastically from 8 hours in a week to 20 hours in a week, just based on the travel and stuff going on. But typically I swim 2 to 3 times a week and then have usually 3 bike rides and then 2 to 3 runs in there. And the
Okay.
volume's all kind of done on the weekend. It's nothing absolutely crazy, but just years of doing it all the time regularly. I think that's the biggest thing is just the foundation.
Really? It's
And
just an experience?
yeah, just even I did Chattanooga last year and ended up coming second there and kind of fourth overall for the females. And that was I, again, wasn't training as much as I had before, but I had 10 years of endurance training in the background. So I think that's with Ironman, the biggest lesson I've learned is just consistency and layering fitness on top of fitness. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It's just keep doing it.
So let me ask you this. Do you think that if I just continue to do the exact same training sessions I'm doing now, maybe a little more volume, maybe quicker pace, I'll continue to get faster over the years?
Yeah, so there's definitely a couple ways to play at it. So when I got started out, I saw a ton of success doing mostly zone 2 training. So that's basically that aerobic heart rate kind of thing. Because I was so new to all 3 sports, I had no aerobic foundation. And that's something I find a lot of triathletes are missing is that aerobic foundation. We all want to do the hard stuff, the fast stuff, the interval workouts on Zwift, all that fun stuff, right?
Right.
So people are trying to build the tower up higher without having that foundation. And my pace in zone 2 went from 10-minute miles to 7.5-minute miles. So I'm running at the same heart rate at a conversational pace, but going much faster. But that takes volume. So there's a couple ways. You always have to keep adapting the training stress to see improvements. Like anything, if you want to make your muscles bigger, you need to put more stress on them, so they break down and rebuild. And you can do that a couple different ways. One, at a lower intensity, just building that volume and resiliency to that volume. Or 2, going higher intensity and building it up that way with the recovery in between. So you either have to go higher intensity or more volume in there. So if you do the same things over and over again with the same zones, but keep updating those zones so that the power output is higher or the pace is higher, that would help you continue to progress the whole way along. But if you stay at the same paces and the same powers and doing the same thing over and over again, then you may as well just be running your head into a wall because it won't change.
Okay. So do you only use the Garmin? I noticed you have a Garmin, right? Is that a Garmin?
Yeah.
So is that heart rate monitor accurate or do you have an actual heart rate monitor?
Yeah, so I also have a heart rate monitor, but I'll say for 90% of it, I just use the wrist-based one. It's
Okay.
accurate enough. Different conditions will kind of throw it off a bit, but it's accurate enough.
Okay.
And I'm a big fan of power on the bike. Power is almost like cheating. It's so good when dialing in the training. So I'm a huge fan of
What's
using.
that?
Sorry?
What power? What do you mean? Just like wattage?
Yeah, the wattage on there.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah,
what's your FTP for 20 minutes? Like how much wattage can you hold?
sure. So my FTP is around 240 right now in there. And just kind of hasn't changed much over the years. It's just I can hold a higher percentage of it longer,
Yeah.
essentially.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. Ironman is just about consistency and just building it up. Your body gets stronger and faster as you go if you keep doing it. And I
Yeah.
found so I've built an app for strength training for endurance athletes because I started off with a foundation of strength just from that weight loss program was all strength training. And if you're resilient and not getting injured and have that foundation, it just makes all the rest of it so much easier.
What's the app called?
It's called Endurance Fit.
Endurance Fit?
Yeah,
I'm doing that
strength
right
training
now.
for triathletes. It was
Awesome.
a fun project. It kind of went from strength conditioning coaching into triathlon coaching because a strength conditioning coach helped me lose 50 pounds, which started me on this journey. And then a triathlon coach, I've been with the same coach for 10 years, and it's just been, yeah, the most incredible experience. So I kind
Awesome.
of follow my passion. Other people help me, so I want to do the same.
For sure. Love that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, the only other questions I kind of had for you here was, what are you working on now? So it sounds like you're going to be doing Ironman Cozumel. Do you have any races before then, or if that's your next one?
No races before then. So Cozumel is about 3.5 months away.
Coming up.
So putting in a lot more volume now.
Mhm.
I think I'm doing the right things. I am working with a coach right now, and it's been a good plan, but I do think I need to increase the volume. So I don't think I'm doing enough right now. I'm running 3 days a week. About, I did 4 mile speed work yesterday. I got an hour 30 run this weekend, a 2 hour bike ride this weekend. I'm about to do 2,000 yards in the pool right after this. So, this kind of like the biggest week I've had so far. Honestly, I haven't really been putting in a lot. I mean, I'm consistent with it for sure. But I've been really, really intentional and disciplined about my diet, and not so much what I put in my body, but what I'm not putting in my body. So, for the last X amount of years, every single time I have dinner, I say, "What's for dessert?" But I'm like, you know what? Yeah, let's not have dessert tonight. And then it turned into, let's not have dessert for the next 2 days. And now it's, oh my God, I only have dessert on the weekends. And I don't know if that's it. And I've had 2 ACL surgeries. I've had full ACL surgeries. And my knee is very heavy, and there's a lot of like crystallization in the muscle tissues that I can hear crack and things like that. But I've never felt so strong right now. So I don't know if it is that I'm just not eating as much sugar, because sugar is very inflammatory, I'm in the infrared sauna every day for 20 minutes. I started the best sleep hack. I wear mouth tape, nose strip, and eye mask. And
Great.
that is like been so, I get the best sleep now. And sleep is obviously the most important recovery tool,
Yes.
right? So I think there's a story about the coach of the France cycling team. And he was like, hey, we're just going to be a little better in each thing. He's going to just, make the bike 1% more aero. And he, cleaned the bikes one extra time throughout the week or throughout the day to get a little more dust off. And, they made their suits 1% more aerodynamic. And if you change a lot of these things, you dial a lot of different things in a certain way, you can make a ton of progress. So like a little bit better sleep. Just stop eating dessert throughout the week. Right. I started doing the sauna for 20 minutes, and those small changes makes me feel really good. I'm feeling really strong right now. So going to start upping the volume. So yeah, I'm really excited for Cozumel. Last time was a great time, and just being, I love like Latin culture and Mexican culture. I speak Spanish, so I like being down there and talking to everyone in Spanish and things like that. So I'm really excited for the trip. Really excited.
Oh, it's going to be so good. And you're so right. Those marginal gains, they add up to drastic differences. It's really so often, especially age group athletes, sometimes they try to train like the pros. What they don't realize is the difference is the pros are doing these hard, crazy long workouts, and they're laying down and not moving. Like, we're not talking working on their computer. We're not talking like, they just lay down and do nothing. And age groupers don't have the time to do that. And that is the biggest difference in the performance between the pros and the age groupers, is just that recovery in between. So anywhere you can get that is huge.
What's some of your favorite recovery techniques, or what do you think is a recovery technique that everyone should do? Compression socks, red light therapy, yoga toes, like lacrosse ball on the bottom of the feet, icing your knees.
Yeah, I think, like you said, the biggest one I always talk about is sleep. Like, that makes the biggest difference. It affects your hormones, it affects your metabolism, it affects how fast you recover in there. Sleep is the absolute one that you need to get after. And that, just some mobility work to make sure that you have an adequate range of motion. You don't have to be some crazy yogi. Believe me, I went to a yoga retreat and it was embarrassing. But just enough mobility so that you don't have restrictions for the movement patterns that you're trying to do. Yeah, it
Okay.
doesn't have to be anything too crazy.
I have one more question for you.
Yeah.
Out of the 3 sports, swim, bike, run, which one does technique matter the most?
Swim. By far the swim. And that's why I'm mediocre at swimming and better at the other two, because the other two you can just bash out some miles and eventually you'll get faster. Swimming doesn't work quite the same way. It takes a lot of technique work.
Okay, so when you're doing your technique, what's something that you're conscious about? Is it your reach? Is it your catch? Is it your push?
Biggest thing for me is the catch. Just making sure that I'm not crossing over and getting that catch right and really starting that early vertical forearm makes a difference so that you're really grabbing the water. I'm a big fan of people doing fist drill, where you basically do a swim stroke with your fist closed. And that way you really feel how much your hand is doing the pulling, and you're forced to use your forearm to do more of the pulling, which again, the more surface area you have doing that pulling, the more you can move through the water with less effort, not just windmilling your arms through there.
Okay. Now, should I be pulling a buoy a lot and using the hand things a lot? Are those things important?
I am a huge fan of pull buoy and paddles. Huge, huge, huge fan. Because most of the time when you're doing a triathlon, 90% of the time, you're either in salt water that has you in a more buoyant body position or you're in a wetsuit. If you're in a wetsuit, it puts you in the same position as that pull buoy. So it's really good practice, one, to be in the position that you're going to be race day. But 2, it lowers your heart rate and lets you focus on your arms more so than what your legs are doing or trying to catch a breath. So pull buoy and paddles is a really good way to build strength. At a lower heart rate, it's kind of like lower cadence work on the bike, where you can just focus on how your upper body is actually moving without worrying about your legs, essentially.
Okay. And what was my last question? It was something about swim.
I'll be honest, I'm one of those triathletes where I am happy to get out of the water and be on dry land. I learned how to swim for triathlon. When I decided to do a triathlon, I tried to swim across a 25-yard pool, had to stop halfway down the lane line because I'd never taken swim lessons. It was like, I'm going to drown. This is insane. So I am an adult onset swimmer who is still running and biking my way through the field because the swim is not great.
Do you kick a lot during the swim on race day?
No. So especially if you're wearing a wetsuit, the reason why you kick in swimming is really just to hold your body in the right position. With race day, especially if you're wearing a wetsuit, the wetsuit's doing that for you. So you don't need to kick a ton. And that'll help keep your heart rate down a lot lower too, and the adrenaline down a little bit more, so that you're using less oxygen to get through the swim. So overall, you'll come out a little bit fresher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Interesting. And then is open water swim technique different than pool swim technique?
Typically, you'll naturally kind of have a higher cadence with your arms just because you are outside and trying to sight around things. The only thing that really you have to focus on with open water swimming is sighting. Like, it doesn't matter how fast you're swimming. If you're going in the right direction, who cares? You're going to add a ton of time anyways. So sighting every 4 to 8 strokes, which sounds like a lot, but if you stay on course and that minimal slowdown from sighting is well worth it if you're not swimming an extra 500 meters.
Right. Well said. Aw, thank you, Jenna. I appreciate all the help.
I'm always happy to chat about triathlon, geek out. It's pretty much my entire life. So awesome. Well, then other than that, kind of what's next for you? You got Ironman, you got triathlon. What do you do outside of triathlon? I saw you're a life coach.
Yeah, I'm a certified life coach, personal growth coach for high income earners looking to create better work-life balance, manage stress levels, and get in the best shape of their lives. So I do that, which is great. I actually just launched a run club. It's a run club for non-runners. So helping people that have never ran a 10K, never ran a half marathon, accomplish their first race and seeing the other benefits that come from doing these races and training for these races. So those are the 2 services I offer. I'm about to publish my next book. It's a mindset book. So look out for I'm dropping the title here in the next couple weeks. So look out for that. And besides that, just traveling a lot. I like to travel. I go with my girlfriend to a lot of different countries, and we just like to, spend our money on travel. So going to Italy soon, going to Canada soon, and a couple other trips before Cozumel. What else?
Whereabouts in Canada are you going?
So I'm going to Toronto, Canada, actually.
Oh, okay. I'm on the other side. I'm up in Calgary, Alberta.
Oh, cool. Oh, very nice. Awesome. Cool.
That'll be a fun trip. Toronto's cool.
Yeah. So that's everything that's going on here. And honestly, just spending a lot of time focusing on Ironman. Mm-hmm. It's that is the most important thing. So Yeah.
Well, you're setting yourself up for a great time at Ironman Cozumel, and we'll be excited to see how you go here. If anyone wants to follow you on social media, where can they find you there?
Absolutely. So you can head over to my website, lifecoachzach.com. That's Zach with an H. And all my socials are there. Or you can follow me on Instagram at Zach Rancey, ZachRancey.
Cool. And we will add all of those links to the show notes too, so people can easily find you there. Thank you so much for coming on. It was fun to kind of chat about that. A little bit of a different story from Big Brother to triathlon. It sounds like it's been an incredible journey.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Have a great day.
You too.